Hey guys, Phil Moose here, and today I thought I'd do a different style of video going over some of the changes that I would make to the battle items and held items of the game to bring some of the weaker ones back up to the power level of the standard ones, just to make sure that everything is viable. Pokemon Unite is kind of weird in that, like, some items are just completely unusable and they've left them in that state for a long time. So today I'm going to go ahead and give Pokemon Unite some ideas on what to fix. What credentials do I have? I've played the game since release. I've played the game at the highest level, and I've played this game, for fun, just for content creation, making goofy builds. So I think I have a really good grasp of the numbers of the game when it comes to items and stuff like that, what some stuff needs to be good. So let's go ahead and get started with one of the most hyped items, and sadly, currently, one of the worst items that you should not go on any character. And that is Drain Crown. This was so incredibly hyped because I played Garchomp. Everyone's like, oh my god, guys, like Garchomp with Drain Crown is gonna be crazy. Turns out it's kind of terrible. So all the buffs I have lined up for these items, right, are gonna be pretty big buffs. Because I don't want to just, kind of nudge it a little bit in the right direction. I want to bring the item from unusable to instantly meta, and meta Pokemon can start using them immediately. So the buffs are going to be pretty heavy-handed. I'm not going to be doing any tiny buffs here. So with Drain Crown, I'm thinking first up, we give it more of a identity as like an all-rounder kind of item. And we do that by buffing up all of its stats. So from the health, I want to bring it from 120 to 210. That'll give you a little bit more health, and it makes it match up with weakness policy, which is interesting too. The attack, I would like to up it from 18 to 24. This brings it up to the current Floatstone attack. So it has, pretty good base stats as an item if we buff those two up. And then lastly, the lifesteal from 10% to 15%. That really caps it off, lets you use that extra attack a little bit more. And this should give it more of an identity as a healing item, because currently Focus Band heals more than Drain Crown, which it shouldn't, because Drain Crown should be the sustain item, but it's not. Its numbers are not there yet. Okay. Rapid Fire Scarf, I think, is completely fine currently, so I have no changes. So anything that I don't talk about, I don't think should get changed. Like Slick Spoon is fine. These are all fine. Rapid Fire Scarf, fine. Rescue Hood, not fine. Rescue Hood is only really used on one Pokemon exactly, and that is Comfey. And it's mainly because Comfey doesn't have that many better items. So I think Rescue Hood could use a bit of a buff. And I thought it would be interesting to give Rescue Hood move speed. So from 0 move speed, just to give it 150 move speed, just like the other support items like XP Share. So now if you go Rescue Hood and XP Share, you get a lot of move speed in your kit. So just add that stat onto there. On top of that, the 10% shielding and healing effect, just to up it to 15%. Not too crazy of a buff, but adding it with the 150 move speed lets the support roam a little bit easier and lets it keep up with some of the front line. Maybe it makes it so the support doesn't really need to run X speed as much on characters like Blissey and Clefable. And then the heal getting up 5% definitely matters too. Makes it so that it is more defined as the healing item compared to like special attack specs, the stacking ones, which are the like definitive healing item right now if you can get them stacked up. And then maybe you can combo them for a super healing build. And it's okay, I think, to buff healing now because they just added 2 anti-heal items. So I think it's only fair that we buff the healing ones. Weakness policy, I'd say, is in a great spot right now. It is not like crazy OP, but it is right on viable, so I'm not changing it. Same with choice specs. Razor Claw does see a little bit of use sometimes, but I have a tiny buff for Razor Claw just for the consistency of the game, all right? And that is just the crit rate from 2.1% to 3%, just to up it a little, help it out a bit. Currently, only like 2 or 3 Pokemon can even use Razor Claw, so I don't think this would be a crazy buff to just bring the crit up to like a balanced number. And it's kind of ugly looking at the 2.1%, right? Just bring it up to the 3%, and everything else can stay the same on Razor Claw. And now we got some of the controversial ones. Rocky Helmet. Easily one of the worst items in the game. That's it. There's no but. It's just one of the worst items in the game. So I have some big buffs for Rocky Helmet here. So I would like for the defense stat from Rocky Helmet to go from 51 to 60. Again, just to, bring a bit of a, order and structure into the items, right? So defense from 51 to 60. And the HP from 270 to 360. So bump that up a bit. Give you 90 more HP. HP in the early game of these items kind of matter. This is a tank item. It should make you feel tanky, right? So that just buffs the durability. And the important change to Rocky Helmet that not many people probably know about, is how Rocky Helmet procs is you have to take 10% of your health in one single instance, which is actually pretty hard to do unless you're getting Psyshocked by Espeon or something like that, because there's a lot of moves in the game that do a lot of damage, but they're multi-hit. Like, if you look at Glaceon's Icicle Spear, it'll do more than 10% of your health, but each individual little thing doesn't do 10%, so it never procs Rocky Helmet. So I would like to change it from 10% proc chance to 5% for the threshold, and then maybe up the cooldown a bit so that you can't proc it like every single fight or like every single auto or whatever. So maybe double the cooldown that it has initially, but make it so that it procs half as easy. From 10% to 5% is a huge change, you know. Late game, a Blissey needs to take 1,000 damage in one instance to proc this. And Blissey is one of the squishiest characters. If you put this on a tank, which has lots of defenses, it might never proc this in the entire game, which is crazy to think about. So there's Rocky Helmet. And then a similar change for Assault Vest. Assault Vest is already pretty good, but just a little bit extra to add on to it to bring it up to, you know, viability so more characters can more confidently run it, is just the same change as Rocky Helmet. Bring the special defense from 51 to 60 and the HP from 270 to 360. That's all. You don't got to change the effect. I think 15% shield is amazing. So Rocky Helmet got a little bit of an extra buff because it's worse than Assault Vest in that the effect got buffed too, but Assault Vest just buffed the stats. I think it's fair. XP share is in a great spot. If anything, it's OP. You kind of need it every single game, so no changes to XP share here. Next one up, Leftovers, boys, okay? Leftovers, I feel like, is this and Rocky Helmet. They are contenders, man. They're contenders for some of the worst items in the game. So here's how I would buff Leftovers here. Leftovers should be the definitive, like, flat HP item. It should give you a bunch of HP without stacking, without nothing fancy like that, okay? So I think Leftovers from a 360 HP flat should go all the way up to 600, like the old Buddy Barrier, okay? So Leftovers goes up to 60, and then the HP recovery from 9 to 12, just to give it a little bit more of identity as the HP item. I'm looking at these, I'm thinking, this is honestly still probably not enough, but like, it would definitely push it in the right direction to give it an extra 240 HP. 240 HP early game is definitely a lot. So hopefully that will make it good, but I don't know if they'll ever do it. I hope they should, you know. I like Leftovers, man. I like this as an item. They should buff it, you know. So big buffs for Leftovers here. I don't know. Let me know if you guys think it's enough. I think 600 HP is definitely a lot from a held item, but Leftovers, if there was one item it would be bad on, it would probably be Leftovers, you know, because it's Leftovers. So there we go. I think the out of combat recovery thing should stay where it is kind of now. It should make you really leave combat to get the healing. I don't want people to start healing just passively in lane too much. So we already did that with the HP recovery, so leave the effect the same. Special attack specs and attack weight are pretty balanced, so not gonna have any changes for those. Aeos Cookie, I'm actually gonna buff a little, okay? Aeos Cookie, I'm gonna bring from 240 base HP to 360, just like the Assault Vest and the Rocky Helmet. And y'all might be like, why? Why? Phil? Like, Aeos Cookie is okay. It is okay, but it's so niche, and it's almost always ran with another stacking item. So this might start to give it an identity of its own by giving it an extra 120 HP. And it definitely won't make it OP, you know. It's not going to be the best item in the game. And if there's a buff that you can put to a held item that won't make it the best item in the game, I think that's fine, you know, because they should all be around the same power level. So there's Aeos Cookie. Next thing up here, Score Shield. Now, this is why I think the Leftovers buff might not be enough, because I also have Score Shield go from 450 HP to 600. So that's why I'm thinking like 600 HP on Leftovers might not be enough if I'm bringing Score Shield back up to 600. Right now, almost no one runs Score Shield unless you're doing some like wacky stuff. So I think it's fair to bring Score Shield back up to 600 HP. And I don't think it'll be OP, you know? It won't make Score meta back. The nerf to Score Shield's shield stacking potential basically killed the item. So if the item is so killed, you might as well give it some good base stats, right, with 600. So now you can run and build like Leftover Score Shield and, I don't know, something else and have a bunch of HP early game and be really, really healthy. Which, you know, is pretty interesting because these items fall off a good amount. Next one up, we have Buddy Barrier. Buddy Barrier, I have a really tame buff on. Again, I want to bring every item up to viability. And while Buddy Barrier is viable, it's, you know, it's still kind of niche. So I'm going to have big buffs all across the board. So Buddy Barrier for the shield, I want it to go from 25% to 30%. That's it. 5% buff on the shield. The HP is good where it's at, you know, 450 is good for the HP, I think. If not, you should maybe nerf the HP a little and then bring up the shield. But you know what? 30% for the shield, 450 HP. Buddy Bear already sees play. This will help it, you know, get those supporters and stuff that run it a little bit tankier. And incentivize Buddy Barrier to be ran on bruisers a little bit more too, which currently never run Buddy Barrier. Next one up, Floatstone, another niche item here. Pretty easy change for this one. I think it's already ran a little tiny bit, but just to make sure that's a better speedster item, just upping the attack from 24 to 36 gives it more base damage, and those speedsters really like the raw attack stat. So Scyther, Zoroark would you know, like this item even more than they already do. Okay, there we go. Next one up, we have Energy Amplifier. For Energy Amplifier, another just simple quality of life change just to make stuff, you know, OCD friendly. Instead of the 21% damage amp, maybe just nerf it down to 20% and then bring the cooldown from 4.5% up to 5%. Pretty simple change. Energy amp is already pretty good, so nothing too crazy. Just want to keep the stats kind of in line there. Focus Band is great. I'm not going to change Focus Band. As you can see, I'm not going to have any nerfs. I'd rather bring up the weak items than nerf the really good items. So no nerfs for that one. Wise Glasses, another simple one. Increases special attack by 7%. Let's just go ahead and up it to 10%. Wise Glasses is good, but it's kind of outshined by Spoon and Choice Specs right now. And this will give it a niche as a special attack steroid for those really high special attacking characters like Gardevoir, which Gardevoir should almost always run something like Wise Glasses theoretically because that's such high special attack. But because the other items are so good, it kind of outshines this. So giving it a nice, like, almost 50% buff is pretty good. 7% to 10% here. Next one up, Shell Bell. I have an interesting change for Shell Bell. Shell Bell, I kind of think it's alright where it's at right now, but give it an extra 210 HP just for free. So it kind of matches up with Weakness Policy. So it is going to be like the special attack version of Weakness Policy as a nice little mixed bruisery item here with Shell Bell. I'm getting text. Okay, it's not too important. So we go from 0 HP to 210 on this. And then the cooldown, just like Energy Amp, goes from 4.5% to 5%. I think that'll make Shell Bell a lot more viable. And Shell Bell's kind of bad right now. No one really runs it other than Glaceon, I think. So that's why it needs some of the bigger buffs. Scope Lens, I actually think is really good. So no need for buffs on those. And then Muscle Band, I also think is good. So no need for buffs on those. So tell me what you guys think about the buffs to all the held items. We went over and we buffed 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Buffing 13 of the, like, I think 24 health items just to bring them up a little bit to viability, even it all out, give you guys actual decision making when you go for your builds. I think would be interesting. And it would feel better if all the items were good, so that when you see a Charizard with leftover Score Shield on your team, you're like, okay, at least that guy has a bunch of HP, you know? Like, it's still probably, people are still going to get flamed, but, you know, it'll help out a bit. So there's no useless items. All right, on to the battle items. The battle items are not going to get as crazy of changes because I think they're a little bit more balanced than the held items. First one up is Potion. Currently in the meta, it's a bit bursty, and a lot of defenders have opted away from Potion. Even Slowbro, Potion's favorite user, has kind of stopped using Potion. So because of that, I'm going to give it a decent sized nudge from a 20% max HP heal to 25%. Which is a pretty big nudge, but you have to consider that they added anti-heal items in the game now too, which makes Potion worse, and it was already kind of bad. So I think it kind of deserves a buff for Potion here. X Attack, y'all might scream at me for saying I want to buff X Attack, but outside of Mewtwo Y bug abusing with it, no one really runs X Attack and is not very good. So I think a good buff to X Attack would be 40-second cooldown to 30-second, and the attack and special attack amp going from 20% to 25%. Again, I know Mewtwo's breaking the game with this, but outside of Mewtwo, no one uses it, and Mewtwo should get nerfed anyway. So, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna nerf X-Attack just because Mewtwo's abusing it. The item is actually bad, you know. And this, even with the buffs that I just proposed, it probably still will be bad, but at least it can have more of a niche, you know, with a lower cooldown. You kind of pop it every fight almost. That's going to be interesting. X-Speed is absolutely fine right now. It's one of the strongest battle items, so I don't think it needs any changes. Fluffy Tail, I'm going to give some heavy changes because no one in the game runs Fluffy Tail. And no one ran Fluffy Tail for a really, really long time. So Fluffy Tail, I'm proposing from a 25-second cooldown to a 15-second cooldown so that you can play Fluffy Tail in lane or clear jungle really quickly. and you kind of almost always have it up at a 15-second cooldown. And I'm not changing anything with the numbers of it. It shouldn't do any more damage. I'm just making it come up a little bit more often so that it might be better on some stuff like defenders and supporters to use it to clear jungle. If you want to play like Lapras jungle or something, it can help you clear really fast maybe. I don't know, some interesting stuff like that. Give it a bit of an identity. At 25 seconds right now, it's still pretty low cooldown, but and no one uses it. So let's try and buff it up by 10 seconds. Eject button. Okay, this one's a little bit, this might be a little bit biased, okay? It's already pretty good eject button. So I might be biased, but 70 seconds is such a long cooldown, man. All right, can we give it 60-second cooldown, bro? I might be biased because this is my favorite battle item, but I would bring this from 70 seconds to 60 seconds on the cooldown. And we're buffing all the other items too, you know? So I think right now people use X speed a little bit more than eject button, and I think they should both be used at around the same level. So that's why I do the eject button. Slow smoke, a kind of a tame change here from 45 seconds to 40 seconds. We're not quite bringing it back to before where I think it was like 30-second cooldown, which was crazy. So, you know, just a tiny push in the right direction so that more than exactly Comfy uses it. Currently, I think only Comfy uses slow smoke. So maybe we give it a 5-second buff. Other characters like Lucario and stuff can try it again. Full heal. Full heal is, again, really good, but I think it does need a little bit of a buff, too, especially with all the CC going around in the game, right? Full heal used to be 45 seconds, but it got nerfed to 50 seconds. So I think it's fair to give it back 45 seconds. So instead of 50 seconds, another 5-second buff. Again, really, really small changes here because the battle items are relatively balanced. Other than this last one. Shedinja Doll, I think, is fine, so we're not going to do any changes to Shedinja Doll. But Goal Getter. Goal Getter, I think you should just cut the cooldown in half. That still might not be enough, by the way. It should go from 90 seconds to 45 seconds. Goal Getter is almost never ran. I don't think I've ever seen Goal Getter used in a competitive game since, like, score meta, you know? And since they nerfed Score Shield, they nerfed Score Comp, Goal Getter should not be at 90 seconds, man. Even when it was in Score, even in Score Comp's peak, only like one character ran it, which was like Talonflame maybe. So give it 45 seconds. Just knock 45 seconds right off so that when people take this, it doesn't feel as... That might not be enough, by the way. You could probably knock this to 30 seconds and it'll probably still be bad. Am I tripping for thinking that? I don't know. 45 seconds I think is fair. Yeah, bring it to 45 seconds. 30 seconds might be crazy. People can just start running on your side and scoring 20s for free. So, but you lose X speed though, dude. A lot of times X speed just does what Goal Getter does, but better. Because you can X speed run past the opponent, and since it takes them time to catch up to you, it acts as a pseudo Goal Getter. Whereas this can only work when it's on a pad. Yeah, make it 45 seconds. I think that's fair. But yeah, those are some of the buffs I would do to the battle items and held items of the game. Tell me what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Are they great changes that you would love? Or are they terrible changes that are going to ruin the game? Let me know in the description below, in the comments below. And maybe if you guys like this style of video, I'll do more on how to make some bad Pokemon good, in my opinion. You know, some stuff like that. Drop a like if you guys enjoy. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think about this new style video. I haven't done one of these before. And I'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, turn on the bell, guys. Thank you.